Welcome to the Michigan Out of Doors podcast, presented by Michigan United Conservation Clubs. Welcome back to the Michigan Out of Doors podcast, presented by Michigan United Conservation Clubs. This episode, we're going to talk about the week in policy, the NRC meeting last Thursday, going through the seasons and what is currently in season and what we're excited to hunt. Talk a little bit about some of the on-the-ground improvements, and then we have Chad Stewart from the DNR coming in. It should be a great episode.
Episode 2 coming in hot.
The Michigan Out of Doors podcast is proud to partner with Onyx Hunt. Join the millions of hunters who trust Onyx to help them fill their freezers. Create hunt strategies for your property with custom waypoints, view wind forecasts for individual stand sites, integrate with cell cameras, and so much more. Onyx is essential for hunters to understand property lines, find and e-scout public land and other hunting spots, and all of the other tools to give yourself the best possible chance at a successful hunt. All current MUCC members are eligible for a 1-month free trial of Onyx Elite and an additional 20% off your annual membership. New MUCC members will get a free 3-month trial of Onyx Elite and their welcome email when signing up. To find your current membership discounts, log on to your MUCC member portal and click on membership discounts link to see all of the benefits of being an MUCC member. Join MUCC today to take advantage of these offers. All right, fellas, it is episode 2. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Howdy.
How's everyone doing?
Well, I just want to point something out is that for those people watching, you get to see what all that ruckus was. But for us sitting here, we go, okay, you guys ready? We all quiet down. Tyler starts the read. And then Steve moves every muscle and bone in his body.
I had to adjust my seat. Relax.
So all that creaking and groaning is that is Steve's chair going underneath him in a very.
So for our audio only audience, go check out the video on YouTube and you'll be able to see me readjusting.
And you will also see it's only 3 of us today. Our other host, Logan, is out bear hunting currently.
Yep. Shout out to Logan.
Good luck, Logie Bear.
Yeah, Loogie Bear. Loogie Boogie. Getting his bear. He doesn't have a tag, but he's just helping some of the people he's hunting with to hopefully bag a bear. So, speaking of bear, Brent got one. So our board member, Brent Tavis. Shout out to Brent with his first Bruin that he got. So, cool bear he got over the weekend.
Yeah, a buddy of mine that went with me or was at camp with me when I shot my bear last year. He got a nice bear this weekend too. So good job, Mel. And he sent me a picture of my mount at the taxidermist.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty freaking stoked to pick that up next month.
That looks awesome. I like the white chest. He's got a little tuxedo patch on him. It looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, if any of our listeners have had any luck harvesting this year, make sure to send in your pictures to us, tag us on social media, or shoot us an email at info@mucc.org and send us all of your pictures.
I thought we had the podcast inbox now. Don't we?
I don't know if it's been created, but you know what?
I made Logan do it last week.
Send an email to podcast@mucc.org, and we will see if we have it set up by then.
Yeah, any listener feedback, photos to share, stories, if you want to yell at us, podcast@mucc.org. Be a good time. We will read them.
We will.
We will look at them.
So we've had a busy 2 weeks. So as you guys know, we record every 2 weeks. Or we release an episode every 2 weeks. So since our last episode, we have had some things happen, one of them being the NRC meeting, which was last Thursday. And for anyone that was watching on our Facebook as we live stream, some apologies for the audio. It was a little bit quiet. We're working with the DNR to use their audio, which the hopes was it would be better. And we are in the process of fine-tuning that a little bit. So
we want to make sure everybody can hear.
Yep. So appreciate the patience, and hopefully the next meeting we have things figured out. But also thank you to everyone that does tune into that. We are the only place to find live streams of the NRC meetings.
Also, if there's any audiovisual companies that would like to sponsor us to make sure we have a better listening and viewing experience, we can talk about a partnership there and make sure everybody can hear what's happening at the NRC meetings.
Yeah, reach out to us. So I guess we'll start. We'll talk through some of the NRC meeting, as you guys saw. The first thing that happened is there was a director's order signed that discounts the antlerless deer tags for the extended late season. These are going to start selling December 1st. They will sell until the second Saturday in January, I believe. and they will be valid January 2nd to the second Sunday in January. And those will be $5 per tag, up to 10 tags.
So this is, if you guys remember, this is back when the commission passed all the deer regs. This was a commission amendment to create this late season. For those watching on YouTube, it's, you know, kind of the southern 30-year hand. Generally, kind of the northern edge of Newaygo County down is where this hunt applies, and it's a separate 10 bag limit from your normal deer season bag limit. So this was part of that, and the director did his order to coincide with those regulations passed by the commission. So we didn't actually have policy on this extension of season, so it was one of the things that MUCC stayed out of. As always, if we don't have policy, we generally just sit it out, let it happen, however it's going to happen. So this was one of those instances. But this is a new season that starts this year. I think it runs from the 2nd to the 11th.
12th.
The 12th.
Yep.
The 12th is that second Sunday in January. So if you're in the southern third of the state, you're going to get a couple more weeks of deer season.
Yep.
And this is firearm as well.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is something to note.
Extended late antlerless only firearm season.
Yeah.
Correct.
So all your normal below the rifle line limitations will apply: straight old cartridges, shotguns, muzzleloaders, etc.
And they've been doing the urban deer management hunt, like the urban archery season, for a while now, a couple of years, and this overlaps and extends to way more counties, because it used to be just Oakland, Washtenaw, and Wayne, but now it's all over the place, basically in the lower third.
Well, even separate from this extension, they also expanded the urban archery program
to way more
way more
counties as well.
That one we were in on a little bit. We didn't testify that we should have any specific counties included. Rather, we just kind of said we want an urban archery plan that is applicable statewide.
Yeah.
And that conceptually we like the expansion of their urban archery program. So
yep.
So what does this take the total doe count to now?
20 if you're in the southern.
20,
if you're in if certain parts of the state, you could shoot 20 antlerless deer, and then your combo tag on top of that.
22 deer.
So Justin will be maxing that out this year.
I'll be trying.
We'll be attempting.
My buddies ask me every year. They go, Justin, how many deer will it take for you to quit hunting for the year? And I'm like, give me 22 tags.
22 tags. Yeah.
Until I get 22 deer, I run out of time.
Yeah, but $120 a deer unless you're processing it yourself.
I do process it myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, my wife and I do all of our processing, so I haven't taken a deer to a processor in almost 20 years.
Nice.
So
okay, well, you save $1 there.
A little bit. Yeah, I only got to buy pork fat, and I buy my wife a bottle of Aldi wine, and I give her a bottle of Aldi wine.
Witch's brew.
Turn on The Bachelor or something stupid, and then she'll just sit there and butcher deer for
me. Hey, there is something to be said about the winking owl from Aldi, though.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
Is that what it's? I don't know.
It's
what
called.
It's called.
Oh yeah.
It's a blue bottle with a white label, and it's like $4. Yeah. She loves it.
There's an owl on the front of it.
So
yep,
that's awesome. So what else happened at the meeting?
Yeah, so there were some other fishery orders up for action. All of the actions passed unanimously, so there were no surprises. A lot of trout and salmon regulations, boundary water, or changing boundaries for different waters. One of the orders talked about basically temporary relocation for snakes, lizards, frogs, toads, salamanders, and turtles. And the change there was before, if you were on private property and you had one of these reptiles or amphibians move onto your property, you had to get an actual permit to have if you were caught with access of them or with holding one of them, you needed a permit to do that. And moving forward, if it's temporary, non-lethal relocation, you do not need a permit for that anymore for the listed animals. And then additionally, that added blowguns to the list of gear, which is not lawful. So for anyone using a blowgun to harvest, that is no longer allowed. And then there was
Ace Ventura.
Yep.
Shooting now, yeah.
And then there was an addition to the eastern Massasauga rattlesnake, wood turtle, and eastern box turtle that moved them from Provision 1 to Provision 2. So just slightly more protections on those animals. Yep.
The Massasauga rattlesnake, isn't that a threatened species too? Or are they doing okay?
That was why they moved it.
Because
you coincide with their status. So
okay.
Yep. And then another one that we're obviously very familiar with, Wildlife Conservation Order number 8. There was an amendment to the language on that changed it from mentored hunting to mentored hunting program from mentored youth hunting program. So that was, Justin, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that comes on the heels of the mentored hunt legislation that passed this summer, shortly before the legislature left session, which basically expands the mentored youth program to a mentored hunting program and allows for individuals with special needs or cognitive impairments to hunt without taking hunter safety. Meaning, of course, they have to be within arm's reach of a mentor. And previously, you could hunt on the mentored license until you were 10. Then
9.
You can 9.
It's 9 and under. I guess.
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
shit.
10.
So I guess up until you're 10.
Yeah, up until you're 10. And then you get 2 years of the apprentice license, or you come in as an adult, you can hunt for 2 years in the apprentice. And then you have to take hunter safety and buy your normal licenses. Now, those individuals that are specified in the language can hunt indefinitely on a mentored hunting license. And it's just a way to kind of get them some normalcy in their lives, make memories with them and their family. I don't think anybody really knows how many people it's going to affect, but everybody that is going to affect, it's going to mean everything to them. So this was a member passed resolution.
Yeah.
The family involved, I mean, I know how excited their son is to be able to hunt this year. I've been told for the 2 years we've been working on this that he has the spots on his wall where he wants to put the bucks that he's going to get. So
Nice.
This is a wholly positive thing. The commission obviously agreed with that. There was never really any doubt. They were on board from the word go. So it is done now, and that program should be locked, cocked, ready to rock by general archery opener for sure. So
yeah. Well, it's cool to see just because you don't understand, like if you're not dealing with one of those issues,
right,
and you don't have a child or an adult child or anyone in your life that has a special need, you don't think about the fact that these things just aren't accessible to you at some point. But
right.
to change that is really cool. I met a guy who at our golf outing, at our Mike Avery golf outing, he has a autistic son who is very highly functioning, but can't read. So he has issues with language and reading. And that didn't even cross my mind that like they don't read the test to you. So
Right.
you have to be able to go sit down, read this test, and answer the question. So even for him, that his son is a huge outdoorsman, but now that this law has changed and passed, his son gets to get back in the woods after being out of the woods for 5 years now.
To my knowledge, is the only piece of unanimous legislation this session. This session
Yeah.
being 23 and 24. So the legislature was in on it from the word go. I mean, we were able to discharge from committees. We were able to go fast, and
Yeah.
it's going to make a big difference for a lot of people. So
It's cool. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and then outside of that, there were a couple, like we said, a couple other fishery orders that really just, affected different boundary lines. Nothing too major. And then there were some things up for information, some warm water species changes. And then there was also some talk about the resident goose program. I think that was something that was kind of interesting. They
We have a lot of geese.
we do, and
That's what I learned.
yeah, and the data is absolutely supporting that. So, one of the presentations that was given talked about, what is the ideal target species number for Michigan for Canada geese? And we would like to be, between 180 to 220,000 geese in the state of Michigan. And through our last survey results, we're finding that we're currently around 280,000 geese in the state of Michigan. So
We get to kill 60,000 geese.
that's the plan. And one thing that's interesting about that is, it does seem like the state is really doing everything they can right now. For those of you who don't know, geese are a federally managed species. So there are federal limitations on what the state can do. And that's something they talked about is, I believe the numbers are there's only 107 days a year that you're legally allowed to hunt geese. The bag limit federally is 5 per day. So doing that math, we're only limited as a state to X amount of geese, with our current hunting population. So, the DNR did say that they are maxing out what the government will.
Because our season is 107 days with 5 per day. Like you can shoot 5 every day.
Yep. So they're working on that. So what the order talked about is just kind of adjusting the relocation process and what the permits look like for that. There was some talk about lethal versus non-lethal relocation and what that would look like. So that will be up for action next month at the NRC meeting.
When I lived in Indianapolis, one of my favorite little guilty pleasures was watching urban folk that didn't know how to handle geese.
How mean they are.
And I'd be out fishing and I'd just hear screaming and I'd look over and there's just a goose on top of these people just whipping them. Oh, man. And it happens so often. Geese are mean. All right.
Super. We used to have, and I worked in Southfield, we had a goose that would nest in one of the parking lot islands, because like the lot is just blacktop and they have these cute little planter, like it's like grass in a tree. They would set up their nest every year. And I was there for 7 years. And after the 4th year, they hired like a dog company to come and run the parking lot to keep the geese out. Because I have a picture of our receptionist walking to her car, and the goose from the roof came down and dive bombs her and like takes her out, knocks her down. And then again, on top of her, flapping, beating her with its wings. They're mean as hell when they have their nest out too.
Oh man, I'd have paid to see the security footage of that.
Oh, it was hilarious. We put it in her cubicle. We put the photo up and we framed it of her swinging her bag up at the goose as it's like coming down on her from above. It was hilarious.
Well, and it's like, we're all golfers. Anytime you're at a golf course,
yeah.
you're like, I wish I had my shotgun with me.
Oh,
and I wish this was accessible, because those are breeding grounds for geese.
Yeah.
So take advantage of the liberal goose season.
Yes, and they're delicious. I love them. The way I did it last time is I took the breast and I butterflied the breast open, and then I beat it real hard, like down to a really flat, kind of like thin steak, like a sheet steak, and then mushrooms, cream cheese, onions, green peppers, rolled it up like a meat roll up, tied it, baked it for like 7-8 minutes, got it brown, and it was so good.
I do that with backstrap from time to time. Roll it out and stuff it. Stuff with half cooked bacon and cream cheese and garlic. And cheese and stuff.
Yeah,
was
the next geese I shoot, I've been wanting to test it on the smoker. I haven't smoked a goose yet, but I've been seeing a lot of recipes out there for different goose smoking.
You can take the breast and like slice it into kind of little finger strips, and then I've done bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers with it.
Yeah.
And so just take little chunks of it and wrap it up in there, and then the bacon helps actually keep it moist. So it's pretty good too.
Yeah, I saw someone they cooked it, or they smoked it almost like a brisket, and that looked really good. Yeah.
So shoot more geese.
Shoot more geese,
because we've got 60,000 more than we need here in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, and if you want your geese shot, give us a call.
Yeah,
we'll come out and take care of them for you.
Golf course control.
We'll try.
Yeah, that'd be fun
with what little talent we have hunting.
Hey, we've got all the decoys here from camp and everything. We don't have to go buy any decoys. You just borrow MUCC's decoys.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
Yeah, so that was most of it. There was one other thing that's up for information, and this sits a little bit close to my heart. They Windsor Township State Game Area, they're looking to remove firearm hunting from that. So that, for those of you who are unfamiliar with it, it's a small, I want to say it's 350 to 400 acre parcel in Eaton County, basically near Diamondale. And there is a small segment of that is open to firearm hunting. Currently, I have
all firearm or just big game? Or
it's actually just shotgun. It is shotgun currently. The parcel is set up into two different areas where there's railroad tracks and power lines, and it is shotgun hunting above the power lines and is archery below it. So for simplicity, one of the issues they said they're having is that people duck and goose hunting when they're shooting over. The state took about 50 to 70 acres on that property, and they turned it into they're building a state shooting range right there. And the construction workers were complaining that they were having bird shot fall on them while they
have hard hats.
Exactly.
They're fine.
So that was
just shot fall.
Yeah.
It happens at any sporting clay course.
Yeah. No one was injured to my knowledge. But so that's kind of what they're looking at is, number one, if there is any risk to people shooting at the shooting range. Number two, for simplicity, if, there is an argument to be made that with the lines, it can be complicated to enforce, and individuals might struggle to know where is it legal to shoot a firearm.
Yeah.
Whereas,
but what I was asking is, are they removing all firearm opportunity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So that's for the simplicity is they would remove all firearm. It would be all archery only on the entire parcel. And the argument also was that they just bought somewhat recently a 450 acre parcel about 5 miles west. That is now the Potterville State Game Area.
Okay.
So they are increasing more hunting opportunities, and they are doing wetland restoration currently to provide more duck hunting and waterfowl opportunities on the Potterville. So that was the argument of why. Truthfully, it is a small enough parcel that I'm one of a handful of people that does hunt it.
Yeah.
So, the impact to hunters is marginally small.
Well, a new shooting range is cool, though.
Well, it's only for state employees.
Oh, it is?
It's for the state police.
No, forget that then.
Yeah, it is.
Takes away hunting opportunity. I thought it was going to be open to public.
Nope, it is a state shooting range for, I believe, the state troopers, because that's where their outpost is. Right, it's right behind the state secondary complex. So I do believe it will be a private state only shooting range.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Well, I'll have to read that order because I've been gone for a week.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's as good of a segue as ever to talk about where you've been,
damn good.
where you've been the last week.
Yeah. So I had one of the coolest experiences of my life last week, and I was at Trappers College, hosted by the Fur Takers of America, from September 7th to the 14th.
Notice the hat.
Yep.
Show
Fur
the hat
Takers
off.
of America hat,
FTA,
Trappers
baby.
College.
FTA.
This is specifically a Trappers College hat. To my knowledge, you cannot buy it if you're not at the college. But it was a Saturday to Saturday, week-long trapping course. And I was extremely fortunate to be sponsored by the Michigan Trapper and Predator Callers Association. Shout outs to them. I appreciate it more than you guys could ever know. It was amazing. Always wanted to trap, never had a mentor. And this was intensive. This went from dyeing and waxing your traps. This went best management practices, why we do things the way we do, how to be selective in your trap placement, selective in terms of intended catch species. And I mean, we ran a trap line for 5 days too. So like, besides all the lessons in lecture where they talked about fur handling practices, we learned to skin and flesh. We learned how to do wolf sets. We learned how to do a million different things. We learned how to do things that are legal in some states and legal in others. But like, we got there Saturday, checked in. Sunday, you got all your gear, dyed and waxed it. And then it was lessons all day. And then starting Monday, breakfast at 6:30, on the road by 7:15, couple hours of instruction in the field. I got my notes here. Let me see.
They gave you guys all brand new traps that you had to, or were you re-dyeing and re-waxing, or were these like brand new traps?
So it was not brand new. So it's the college's traps that they own.
Okay. But they needed yearly service, basically, right?
Not all of them. So we got a 5-gallon bucket, and in it were 6 or 7 coil springs, handful of long springs, 110 and a 220 Conibear, some snare stuff, earth anchors, the mallet, the digging tool, sifter, all that stuff. And you went from there to an inspection table where one of the instructors would go through your gear with you and teach you what to look at. But they would also inspect your gear to make sure that it had all the proper swivels, all the proper staking, all the proper, chain links weren't busted, pans weren't busted, your dog didn't need to be flattened out. Some of them did, and some of them I sat there and they showed me how to repair my trap based on what it needed. And then you went over to the dyeing and waxing station where, same thing, instructors would go through your gear with you. They'd show you, this needs to be, never wax your Conibears. We learned that.
Yep.
Don't wax your Conibears. And these traps are okay. They're still got, good wax from last year, but these ones need to be re-waxed.
Yeah.
And then they would do it. And then we would take it. And then we went up to do an interview. They interviewed every single person, every single student. I think there were 56 of us this year. Interviewed us all individually to place us into one of 5 groups based on experience. I was in the novice group. And then we made snares on the porch. Humble brag, I was told I made the best snare of the day when we loaded it.
Of your group?
No, he said the best snare of the day because we had to take, it's like just totally a feel thing.
Yeah.
And you bend the cable around this post that they have bolted or screwed into the table to get it to be just right. It's called loading the trap.
Yeah.
Apparently, I had the feel for it that first day. So, and I caught a coon in that snare that I made.
Oh, nice.
But then Tuesday, breakfast at 6:30, out the door by 7:15, a couple hours of instruction and practice sets with your small groups. My group, I think there were 16 of us. In the whole 56, it was almost all conservation officers and agency biologists.
Did they bus you around or like throw you in the bed of a pickup truck, or how do they?
We just we got together on Sunday night and decided who was
drivers and truck. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there was nothing super crazy in terms of distances, 15, 20 minutes from camp.
Yeah.
But they'd show us a set, we'd practice it, they'd critique us one by one, hands-on instruction. It was really awesome because then you knew what to do, and then they go, okay, go.
Yeah.
And we took a bucket full of traps and all of our gear out, and everybody made their own sets. I mean, we weren't doing anything crazy. We were staying right on trails. We were in some state land that we had special permits to be there for. So, because we were obviously trapping out of season.
Yeah, way out of season.
And actually, a lot of that land isn't open to any land trapping, so we're the only land trapping that happens. And we go out and set our sets. We'd go back, meet up, go back to camp. We'd get back to camp around 3, and then we would be in lessons from 3 to 10 p.m. every single day.
Yeah.
Dinner was mixed in there, but then same thing Tuesday. We'd go check our traps, dispatch the critters, take care of the critters as necessary. Go to a new site, new instruction. Same thing. Back to camp by 3. Lessons all evening. Wednesday we went to the river. We did water sets.
That's cool.
Sets Wednesday and Thursday. The funniest story is one woman caught a mink in a foothold. Everyone's all excited because, for the most part, we're catching coons and possums and stuff.
Yeah, mink is nice.
Mink was pretty cool. So she resets the trap, walks down river. And because of the nature of how we were doing this and these special permits, the traps were maybe set up a little denser than they would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
But she comes back and there's a mink in the same foothold like 2 hours later. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to release this one because we weren't there just to indiscriminately kill everything. The state had certain things that they wanted us to dispatch
for the research program.
Right.
Yeah.
So mink wasn't on the list of we want to dispatch them all. So let's let this one go. So they let it go, and it runs some distance down the bank and snap right into a 110 conibear.
Yes.
So she ended up with 2 mink, which she actually got to skin because then on Friday we went out, we pulled all of our sets.
Yep.
And then the whole group went back to the pavilion and they had 3 skinning and fleshing stations set up.
Nice.
And basically they just kept going through and you would check out the animals that you wanted to learn how to skin and flesh. So, I was in on the coon, bobcat, red fox, beaver, and then the mink. I watched the woman that caught those mink.
They caught a bobcat that week?
No, so some of the instructors would bring in other critters. So we didn't catch any bobcat. We didn't catch any coyote. There were a couple red fox.
That would be cool.
The state was over the moon because they caught 4. We caught 4 badgers over the course of the week in the 5 groups. One of which was in my group, and it was really cool. So when we knew we had a badger,
did they dispatch it? Or
no, because they're protected.
Yeah.
They're super excited that they were there. I think before that they'd only ever caught one a year, maybe.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole group got there, and we got to watch them release it with a catch pole.
That's cool.
The badger was not happy.
Pissed. I bet he was pissed.
But they get in those footholds and they dig these big trenches trying to burrow themselves out. It was so cool though. So we did the skinning and fleshing, and then a little more instruction Friday night where they went over kind of fur grading and fur practices, and they brought in just hundreds of furs that we got to check out. My daughter's favorite one was they showed us a beaver that they dyed hot pink and sheared.
You showed me the picture.
And I told my daughter about it. She's like, can we trap a beaver and do that, Dad? And I'm like, we can try.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, same thing, just a little bit of lesson, a little bit of instruction. And these instructions were still small groups. So it would be, when we'd get back to camp, it would be with the instructors of the other groups. And they'd show us the things that group had been working on or special things. So, Paul from Mountain Men, with the guy with the big old gray beard, the TV show Mountain Men, he showed us some wolf sets, but his big thing was actually just kind of these are the cool gizmos that I found have made my trapping easier.
Yeah.
So he showed us some cool things like that.
I didn't realize he was from Mountain Men.
Yeah. Yep. So
cool TV show.
Yeah, the instructors were great. I mean, I learned more than I could possibly ever retain. I joke, but it is probably actually factually accurate, as I took more notes at Trappers College than I did in 4 years of actual college.
Important information you got to remember.
It was important.
The rest of that just goes in and out.
And what I liked is that my instructors, anyways, on the first day they asked, "What are your goals for the week?" My goals for the week was to kind of learn the fundamentals. I mostly just want to trap coons and coyotes with my kid.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to learn the fundamentals of how I can catch some coons, and come out of Trappers College with at least the knowledge to start learning how to trap coyotes, because they're a little more difficult. Mm-hmm. And my other goal was that I wanted to beat Amy, because our CEO went last year and she got 3 coons. I did not beat her. I got 2 coons and a possum this year. So we tied.
It's almost a tie. Yeah.
Yeah. But
in total numbers.
So that was my goal. I think I achieved it and more. I think I know more than I ever thought I would get out of it. I feel beyond coyote that I have a pretty good base, to catch some fox or bobcat as well too.
So this is an annual thing that FTA puts on every year. And if anyone is like Justin or myself, actually shout out MTCPA. I'd love to go next year if you want
I'd
to
help
send
by
me.
getting their name right first.
Yeah, Michigan Trappers and Predator Crawlers Association.
You didn't get it right.
MTPCA.
You did that time.
Yeah, that's what I said the first time.
I thought he did.
So yeah,
I heard
I said it right.
I heard MCPTA.
No,
I don't think so,
MTCP.
dude.
Yeah, no, I got it. MTPCA. I would love to go, and then I can keep the tradition alive of who can get the most, and I'll be head to head with you. But they also, this is a tuition based thing that if you just want to go on your own, you can pay to go. They have scholarships available. I was looking at their website. So FTA has scholarships available. Other statewide predator and trapper associations will send people as well. But if anyone is in the boat of wanting to learn how or get their jump start in trapping, this Trapper College would be the coolest thing to go to. And
Fur Takers of America has tons of information out there for an aspiring trapper anyways.
Yep.
And I mean, it was a wealth of knowledge. So the spaces fill up fast. Like I said, it was mostly agency and COs. You know, if you're not a communal bathroom and bunk room type of guy, it might not be for you because there were
what's like camp.
They were. I mean, it was. We stayed at a YMCA camp.
Yeah.
The food was terrible. Just heads up, it was awful. It was. I mean, it's just cafeteria food though.
Yeah.
But you were also working so hard.
It tasted good at the end of the day.
I wouldn't say it tasted good, but you ate it.
You needed it.
You needed
food.
So
you
I was ready by the end each day. I mean, yeah, but I mean, there were 15, 20 guys in a bunk room. There were 4 bunk rooms.
Yeah.
And probably 15 guys.
How many people in total?
I think it was 56 students. Each group had, I think, 4 instructors. There were a couple extra instructors bouncing around. But I mean, yeah, we learned how to set footholds. We learned how to do water sets. We learned how to use 110, 220, 330 conibears, snares. I mean, they taught us everything that they know. And those guys that are instructors, they live it. They live it. There's some combination of lure makers, trap supply companies, nuisance removal, and just guys that trap and sell fur. And you know, you learn how to trap, but you learn why we trap as much. That's as much of the curriculum of, you know, game management, habitat protection, all of that stuff. The lessons are as much about that as about learning to trap. And best management practice. I mean, all of it. It's not just about going out there and being like, this is how you most efficiently kill stuff. Because that's not what it's about.
This is how it works.
Right.
Like into the ecosystem, into the whole overall management plan.
Yeah. One gentleman, former Maryland DNR employee, worked for the feds. I mean, he was a professional trapper for probably longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
And he taught us as much about how to trap as to the positive benefits of it, which is a big reason why I was there. Right now that I have this working knowledge of trapping, I can more effectively do my job. And that's because MTPCA had the foresight to send Amy and myself. But he talked about how a handful of other states have an otter trapping season now because he trapped and relocated the otters that restarted their populations.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, it was as much about why we trap as how to trap. How to trap was like the easy part of it, right?
Yeah.
But reminding these folks, at least in my group, most of them weren't trappers. Most of them hunted. But it taught them too why they're doing what they're doing for their work. So,
yeah, well, when you look at us as an organization too, I mean, we talk so much about hunting and fishing, and you know, we're obviously very pro trapping as well. But it's just from a population standpoint, there's not as many trappers as there are anglers and hunters.
Yeah.
I told my instructors, you know, after we had graduation where everybody got their certificates and their little plaques and we took a test at the end of the week and got a trapper safety card for the state of Indiana. What I told all my instructors when I was saying goodbye to them was that they didn't create 2 trappers or 1 trapper that weekend. They created 2 because, you know, the line I intend on running this winter, I intend on taking my daughter. We're mostly going to focus on coons. You know, kind of the easy stuff. Maybe set some coyote sets if my buddy can keep his dog in the house. But yeah, I mean, my daughter's going to get into it now as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Because I have this base knowledge that I was able to get. So it was one of the most fun weeks I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely grueling and it was exhausting. And every single person got poison ivy, including my wife somehow.
Who was not there?
Who was not there? She was
from your clothes.
My wife is severely allergic, and I'm like, if you're gonna do my laundry, you got to grab some nitrile gloves or something. Be careful. And she was apparently not careful. So it was a blast, though. If you were at all interested in trapping, I mean, maybe the Trappers College isn't the thing for you, but do it.
Yeah,
It's still astonishing to me, even after going through it for this week, that in all the wide world, you get a critter to step on a little circle, and yeah, I don't know. They're the ultimate woodsman as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
it's cool, man, and it's such a underlooked thing, like for land management and species protection. I mean, think about the number one predator of turkey eggs is coons and possums. So, I mean, if you're trapping them and removing them off your land or keeping the populations in check, we're going to have a better turkey population.
Mm-hmm.
So it all plays into it. I love it. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Where do they find more information for next year?
For Takers of America.
Yep.
They have a whole website.
There's an
a whole part of their
application
website.
period.
Yeah,
There's
the application was in the spring, if I remember correctly. I think I sent mine in May.
There's scholarship opportunities too that they have right on their website. I was looking at.
Yep. There are scholarships available for those interested individuals. Limited space, so don't mess around if it's something you're interested in. But they're going to teach you everything you need to know to be a successful trapper and be a successful steward of trapping. So
yep,
do it. It's
That's
fun.
cool, man.
It was the coolest thing ever.
Well, while you were at Trappers College, a lot of people in our state were in the woods for the youth hunt, the Liberty Hunt this weekend. I was not.
No?
So no, unfortunately, my mother takes my kids to an annual camping trip up in Groveland Oaks, and then there's like a big Halloween weekend they do. So it's like an early Halloween, and it just so happens that it fell on this weekend. And so Tuesday night, last week, she calls and was like, "Hey, what time am I picking the kids up?" And I'm like, "It's the youth weekend." And if you take an 11-year-old and offer them the chance to go sit in a deer blind or go trick or treating
when it's 85 degrees,
or go trick or treating, I lose that battle every time.
Yeah.
So
Candy or venison.
Hey man,
yep.
It was flipping hot this weekend. Zach Snyder sent me a picture of himself in the deer blind. I did not want that picture.
Probably smelled in that deer blind.
I could smell the picture because he was just sitting there in his skivvies. So thank you,
ball.
Zach.
What a dirt ball.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Well, Pat Hogan got out with his daughter too.
I saw
that picture. My buddy, where we hunt in Jackson, his son got a 6-point. So he got a nice little 6-point. They had a nice 8-point roll through, but it was too fast on the hoof to get up and get it in the scope. But he was sending me updates all weekend long. And so congrats to any of the youth out there that got their first deer or just got a deer this year. And yeah, that'll be some good pictures online. Michigan Buckpole has got some good stuff on their page right now. So check out all the youth hunters that were out there. So, and then I think too, if I wasn't mistaken, at the end of the NRC meeting, they said they were going to revisit the 2025 changes that might be coming to this weekend.
Yeah, so I mean, there's been a lot of people reaching out to the NRC. Obviously, it's a pretty touchy subject. My understanding is, number one, they are going to be looking at the independence hunt first.
Yeah.
So those with disabilities, they are going to look at making that a antlered hunt again. And it doesn't take into effect until 2025.
Yeah, so they've got time. They got a year to make their decision.
But the commissioners were very adamant that they have received a lot of people reaching out.
Feedback.
Yes.
Yeah, lots of good feedback.
yeah, feedback.
Lots of good feedback. Lots of not so good feedback.
Yeah, and Chair Barrett even talked about how he had a long conversation with an individual, and that it was enough of a conversation to, I don't want to say change his opinion, but it made him rethink how the NRC is approaching it. So they have not, obviously we don't know for sure if anything's going to change, but they have said they will absolutely be revisiting it and at least having that conversation moving forward. They were not entirely sure if the Liberty Hunt would be discussed as much, but the independence one is what they will take a look at first. And depending on how that goes, there is a chance that the Liberty Hunt is looked at as well.
So this is one of those places, everybody at home, where MUCC was neutral because we lack any specific policy on this issue. So as we're looking ahead, you still have time to get a resolution to our convention in March. That needs to be to me by Thanksgiving for our December policy board meeting. So if this is something that you want MUCC to take a position on, I need marching orders from our membership.
And it's got to pass convention.
Yep, and it has to pass our convention. So you have an opportunity to be involved in this process if this is something that you care about and something you want MUCC to advocate for.
And when is the next policy board meeting?
December 7th, I think, is the date.
Yep.
Yeah. So early December is.
Yep. And that's the last chance to submit resolutions before the convention in March.
Correct.
And then if something like this topic goes to convention, it wins supermajority, gets passed, Justin gets to work on it by the end of March. And so if they're making any decisions for the September 25 hunt, then we'll have that time between convention and September to get to work and work with the NRC or kind of let them know our membership stance on this as we represent 40,000 hunters, anglers, and trappers. And so again, call to action here. If you're passionate about this topic, you've got to get a resolution. So you got to be a member and then submit a resolution.
Do it.
Get us to work. And so then this weekend coming up is our first antlerless weekend of the year. You can put some venison in the freezer right out the hop.
Still going to be hotter in the sun.
It's going to be only 79 degrees on Sunday, though. It won't be 85.
Oh, really?
So that's what it says.
Better?
That's right. Yeah, 6 degrees better. Yeah. But I will be out this weekend. The kids actually have asked to go with me this weekend. I'm not sure if I'm going to let them or not, but
take them.
I'm gonna probably, especially if we're in a ground blind.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'll be out this weekend trying to put some meat in the freezer. You going out?
Yes, I'm leaving Friday, going golfing with some buddies on the way to deer camp, and it's me and a couple of my best friends. We go to one of their properties every single year.
So it's private.
Yeah, it's private land, 120 acres. It borders national forest on two sides. But we're going up near MUCC, and this is a trip we've done every year for the last 5 or 6 years, and we usually go put a couple does on the ground and get the freezer full. Generally, we have a sausage party beforehand and make brats.
Sounds like a sausage party.
Make brats. Yeah, it is. It is. It's 4 dudes drinking beer. But normally we have a sausage party and take any leftover like venison and turn it into brats and stuff. And I don't think anybody has any leftover meat this year. So
yeah,
but yeah, we'll be going up Friday.
Well, we were talking about that this morning, and I mean, processing this weekend is going to be
it's going to be miserable. Well, my wife is going to hate it.
There'll be processors open just for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean that's
special
my plan.
Hours,
is if I
are you going out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be out Saturday. Hopefully Saturday or Saturday for sure. Hopefully.
Are you going public land?
Nope. I'll be on my property in Charlotte.
Okay.
Trail cams have been looking good. I've had does pretty much every morning and evening, and and they're out in daylight right now.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, honestly, it's so which is kind of surprising with the temperatures. I mean, I've been seeing them at warmer times, which I definitely assumed would be throwing off movement. When it's 85 every single day. We haven't had rain. I mean, I planted my food plot how many weeks ago, months ago. And I got it on a good rainstorm, and then
nothing since.
It's been, I'm nervous to go check it because it's just been so dry.
Yeah. Well, as a reminder though, too, that this is the first antlerless weekend that it's public land as well. So whether you do or don't have your own land, this is a weekend where you can go out on public land and harvest that first doe of the season. Where traditionally it's always been private land only, but the state's wanting us to shoot more does. So public or private, get out there and fill the freezer.
Yep.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I look forward to this weekend every year.
What are you going to shoot? Are you shooting your 6.5 up there?
Probably.
Or are you going to take? Okay. Yeah, I'll be shooting the 350.
Yep, that's what I will be.
Yep.
Yeah.
The old Savage 350.
Yeah, that's the same one.
I may, if I come home, like if I shoot something and have to come home, I may take my 350 out down here, where I have a place in Allegan County to hunt. So I don't know. Nice. If it's 85 degrees, I don't know that I might.
It won't be that high up where you're at.
Yeah, that's what it's forecasted for on Saturday. Anyways, is 80 something degrees, and the Lions play at 4 o'clock on Sunday.
You better pack ice.
Yeah,
that's normally what happens that weekend. If we shoot something, a couple guys start skinning it like immediately, and the other one will run into town real quick and grab some ice
and stuff the chest cavity with it.
Yeah, if I shoot something Saturday though, I may not even mess with it. I may just take it to the processor and just be done with it.
Yeah, let him do that.
That's the same thing I did with my bear last year. It was just too damn warm to deal with it myself. Took it to the processor. That was the best money I ever spent.
Yeah, that was good.
Prevent spoilage. Yeah, it was.
That was good. So then also teal is all wrapped up. So early teal season shut down on Sunday, I believe it was, right? It was the 1st to the 16th for early teal because goose is still open.
All right, we're going to cut that and make sure we know.
No, I'm pretty sure the regs said that it was
The waterfowl regs, which are now posted.
Yeah, the waterfowl, they finally have the PDF up, so we have regs to actually look at now. The mobile friendly version on the website was not my favorite thing.
Teal closed today.
Yeah, today
as
as we're
16th,
recording.
as we're recording. Yes.
Yep. So on the 16th, it shut down.
Yep. And I did get out. I got out twice.
So you got out last weekend?
I did. Yep.
Nice.
I hunted twice last weekend. Didn't have time this weekend. Did not get any birds. Saw. I mean, early teal is tough because we're out there. We're sitting on the side of the river, and the amount of mallards that I could hear around us. I mean, hundreds of birds around us, and you just sit there and you see these mallards flying, and you hear them, and you see so many wood ducks, and
woodies are sweet,
and it's just tough because you want to shoot everything that goes by.
Someone smoked a boatload of geese at Trappers College. We're sitting there on Saturday on our last
hit them with a
no.
Okay.
We're sitting there doing our lessons on the last Saturday Trappers College. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. Honk, 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 honk. Geese are flying over, and then we hear blame, 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 blame. It was on a lake, and everyone just starts laughing. Everyone looks. Oh man, it was pretty funny. And then I'm sitting next to an Indiana CEO, and he's like, he hears another group and goes, they're gonna get blasted too.
Yeah,
but they did.
Go ask for a donation.
It was pretty funny though, just to hear it was doing it.
Yeah.
I don't waterfowl on much. It's something I'd like to do.
I heard from people I talked to, I heard teal was really good right away. Because it did cool down. I think either the first or second weekend of teal was like one of the days got down to like 40.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend was like in the 60s.
Yeah,
and then it was
so the lows were 45. So you get out in the morning and they were moving. And then when I went out, I mean, we were hunting 75. Some of the times it was 80-degree weather. So it's birds were moving. The geese were not moving as much as I thought. They were moving more in the mornings. But yeah, I mean, with that weather, it's just it's tough.
Yep. No, and then fall turkey opened on Sunday as well.
Yep. Yeah, if y'all remember this year, they are doing
e-tags.
The voluntary paperless kill tags. So it'll kind of more closely follow the Indiana model where you can, buy your tag on the app or whatever, harvest your turkey, call it in. They'll give you a confirmation number that you affix to the turkey. So that is voluntary. I would view it, if I'm a Michigan hunter, I would probably view it as like a pilot program.
Yeah.
Kind of a test to maybe head towards that model. Would save the department about $700,000 a year, if I remember correctly, just in the paper that your tags are printed on.
Yep.
Never mind vendor commissions and things like that. So it's a pilot program. It's to see how the hunters like it. It's to see how law enforcement likes it, and they're doing fall turkey because it's such a small.
Yeah, it's a small hunt.
And then the reminder for that too, for anyone who doesn't know, you do still have to affix your license information and tag information to it. So you don't have to have the physical tag, but the requirement is that you still have to band it or tag it and show, here's all of my information. So there is still a tagging part to it, but
and that information should be up on the department website.
That's because they altered that and then republished the PDF. Correct. So if you got the Fall Turkey Digest too long ago, it might not have that information in it, but they put a new model out. I applied for the GC unit. That's like Livingston, Washtenaw. I got denied for that. And then, so I went and got a YY tag. So now I have to find private land to go try and bag a bird on.
All the places that I deer hunt either don't have a fall turkey season or don't have turkeys there in the fall when they do have a season. So
I would say that, I mean, anecdotally, I feel like I've seen more turkey this fall than I have in a long time, and not necessarily on land I can hunt, but just in general, I've been seeing more turkey than I can remember. And they were talking about that at the NRC meeting.
The populations are
I don't know if it's different migration or movement this time of year because of the temps, but
so I can't remember if it's this coming spring. I think this coming spring, as kind of the culmination of some talks that we had on some separate policy stuff with the department, we're going to start getting a lot more information about turkey populations and turkey population trends and densities and all that stuff from the department. So when we were advocating for a second turkey tag in the spring in some form or fashion in 2022, we had some discussions with the department about what that might look like. And basically we all kind of agreed that we were going to take 3 years. They have a lot of research that they were doing in partnership with NWTF, in partnership with other states along similar latitudes. and we were going to have a lot better idea of what the turkey population looked like. So that should hopefully be coming ahead of the next regulatory cycle so that we can address turkeys with a little more certainty when we set our regs. And maybe we'll see what the department says in terms of the populations, but maybe we can get that second tag. And they may come out and say, actually, we're in trouble. Maybe that's not smart right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say for most of our members, that's an equally satisfactory result because we don't want to stress populations when we don't have to. But again, maybe they'll come out and say, hey, actually, this is something that we could do if we're clever with our structure. And, the opportunity might be later in the year, later into May, rather. So something to look forward to is a little more information that we currently lack on turkeys here in state. So
more to come.
And
then lastly, small game opened up on Sunday as well. So you can get out there and start bagging squirrels and other small game. That reg is out too.
Mm-hmm.
It's still the mobile-friendly version on the website. There's no PDF for that reg yet, but the deer reg just dropped today as of recording. This morning, we realized that the PDF for deer regs is out as well. So get outside, share with us, send us photos and stories to podcast@mucc.org. Love to see what you guys are all doing out there in the world and what seasons you're taking advantage of.
I think we might need to do a little staff small game hunt.
Well, there's a non-zero chance I get to shoot a squirrel on Wednesday, right? That's what you told me.
It is non-zero.
Yeah,
I was told to bring my squirrel gun to work. So
yep. Well, and I have my license, so
I hope so.
If you had
been hunting all spring, it would have been a problem if you didn't.
Have your base license.
Gee, that's gonna be good.
So anyway, I got to bring my squirrel gun to work on Wednesday. If nothing else, I get to show it off because it's one of my favorite guns.
Yeah, I did this. I think it was last year or 2 years. I had my first squirrel over a campfire.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And it surprisingly was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's kind of what if we end up shooting something on Wednesday, we got to do.
We're just gonna light a fire.
We're gonna cook it right there.
Yeah. We're do like a little spit right over the fire, and we'll eat some squirrel.
Awesome.
All right, we are here with Chad Stewart from the DNR. Chad, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to this.
First off, do you want to intro yourself and your title and what you do at the DNR?
Sure. Yeah. Name is Chad Stewart. I've been with Michigan DNR now for coming up on 10 years. I've been primarily in that role as the what they call the deer, elk, and moose management specialist. So I oversee a lot of the policy work related to this cervid management in the state of Michigan. Past couple of months, I've been what we call acting as the Sustainable Population Section Supervisor. The Sustainable Population Section is just our internal group of wildlife specialists. I've been just sort of overseeing some of the work that they've been doing. But yeah, it's just an acting gig for a couple months, and it's been an interesting experience. But primarily, I've been the deer person now for about 10 years here in Michigan.
Amy likes to say that you have the worst job in state government, but at least you're doing something cool with it, working on deer stuff. So
yeah, no, I get that a lot, and but it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of cool to have deer, elk, and moose in your title. So I can think there's a lot worse jobs. So I don't know if
in this world that have to be accountants. So I consider us lucky.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with Amy on that, but I do appreciate the sentiment.
Well, you do have to have one of the more fun jobs, and especially getting to do and work in what you really enjoy. And you got to be one of the more popular jobs at the DNR, right? I'm sure everyone wants to talk to you and get your opinion and ask questions. And
yeah, I guess it depends on how you define popular, but yeah, there's usually when people find out that you are involved with deer or elk or moose management, there's usually a few questions that follow. So it's a quick icebreaker to get into a short conversation with just about anyone.
Yeah. Well, like I was going to say, one of the things that we have been seeing in the news a lot and wanted to kind of pick your brain about is EHD. And, if you could give a quick intro on what it is, how does it affect deer? Why should we be worried about it? And then, we'll just kind of get into how prevalent it is right now.
Yeah, EHD is just another one of those acronyms that kind of exists in the deer world. It stands for what's called epizootic hemorrhagic disease. And what it is it's a viral disease that's transmitted by biting midges, no-see-ums. And it typically occurs right around this sort of late fall time frame. And what it does to a deer is it basically gives them a fever. They tend to seek out comfort in trying to cool down in and around like lakes, ponds, streams, rivers. And unfortunately, it is a mostly fatal disease. Not always fatal, but mostly fatal. So typically what kind of brings us to attention is that when we start getting reports of deer that are either dead or dying in and around water sources at this time of year, typically August or September, it generally points to an EHD outbreak that's occurring. So it can be pretty impactful to localized populations, but what's really interesting about hemorrhagic disease is that it affects populations, can be severely in a local area, but you can go several miles down the road and that deer herd is not affected whatsoever. So it's really difficult to predict where it's going to occur or how bad it's going to be. The only thing you can generally predict is when it's going to happen, and we're getting better at doing that. There's some research out there that shows some different weather patterns, specifically hot and wet springs followed by kind of droughty late summers and falls tend to promote EHD outbreaks. And unfortunately, that's almost describes exactly what's been going on with us. So we've been getting quite a few reports in southwestern Michigan this fall, and I would expect those to continue until we get this hard frost that kills those midges off, and then that would shut down the transmission cycle.
What's the mortality rate when a deer gets it? Like, how often is it fatal to them?
A lot depends on where you're at. So in southern, say, Georgia, Tennessee, you almost never get outbreaks of hemorrhagic disease where a deer are dying from this. And this is because they're just continually exposed to it. So the mortality rate is quite low. It's when you start getting into these Great Lakes states, these northern Midwestern states, where you start getting very high mortality rates. And locally, it could be as high as 60, 70, maybe even 80%. Now, that's not at like a county level or a deer management unit level. But that might be at a small property level, right? The difference is that there you get that hit, and certainly that takes time for that population to recover. But generally speaking, you don't see repetitive impacts, in subsequent years, because there tends to be some sort of protection, whether you call it immunity or what, and there's some sort of protection that's passed down to future generations. So you go through it 1 year, and then the herd generally tends to recover within a couple years, and it's like it never happened. But those first couple years can be somewhat challenging, especially from a hunter standpoint.
I'm glad you said that was going to be my next question, because I've heard you talk about it before, but maybe some of the listeners haven't. So I'm glad that you made that distinction, that it's not necessarily something that we have to look forward to. That's just going to be endemic in the herd now.
Well, and just to be clear too, Chad, this is something that is only transmitted from the midge to a deer, and deer don't spread it between themselves like a CWD where it's deer to deer, but this is literally just from the biting midge to the individual deer, and it doesn't spread from the deer to the next deer. Is that correct?
100%. Yep, you're absolutely correct in that. So yeah, I'm trying to be brief with all the stuff with EHD because I know we have a limited time, but
right.
You're right. That's a really important distinction, is that it's not transmitted from animal to animal. It's just from midge to deer. And once you get a hard frost and those midges die, then the transmission cycle shuts down.
Okay. Is there anything else with EHD that you think you just want to kind of put a button on it and just wrap it up for Michigan hunters that they may not be getting from other sources?
Yeah, well, right now we're getting quite a bit of reports in the Southwest. I think early last week we had over 600 reports through what we call our Eyes in the Field website, which is an opportunity for anybody that's out there to report a wildlife-related mortality. And then we try to go in and confirm not only the presence of hemorrhagic disease through a blood test or an organ test, but also what type of hemorrhagic disease strain it is. There's several different strains that are out there. Typically what's called strain 2 and strain 6 are the more common, and seemingly strain 6 can be maybe the more virulent one, or the one that maybe provides a little bit more a higher mortality. So we're trying to type some of those out with some colleagues down in Georgia, but it's a disease that nobody wants to see hit their hunting grounds or their landscape, and typically if it does, you're generally in line for a pretty difficult hunting season coming up.
Do we know the incubation period or the lifespan once a deer is infected from that biting midge? How long do they typically survive until they get to a point of emaciation and ultimately death? But like, could a midge could bite a deer on my property, but it takes 2 weeks? Does it take a day? Like, could I potentially shoot a deer that was EHD positive and kill it through hunting, or is it pretty quickly from bite to termination?
It's pretty quick. Yeah. Typically, the deer that are either found dead or dying, they've only been recently infected, probably within the previous week, and it might take maybe 2 weeks or 10 days to 2 weeks for the virus to cycle through. And that's why when you get pictures of deer, that are just skin and bones, emaciated, whatever, we generally don't look at EHD as a culprit for that, because that's a symptom of a chronic disease or injury that's taken its wear and tear on that deer over time. EHD burns through deer so quickly. It's almost like one day they're healthy and a couple of days later they're lying there dead, and there's no outward visible symptoms or anything. So, in fact, in order for us to get a viable test, we typically have to try to get to that deer within about 24 hours after it succumbs to the disease, before the disease is sensitive enough to even detect it. If it's a 2-day-old deer, a 3-day-old deer, we run the risk of the disease not even being able to confirm that it was hemorrhagic disease. It moves that quickly through a deer.
So then what's the risk to humans for that? I mean, if someone, if it's 10 days, say a deer contracts EHD, they shoot it 3 days later, what's the risk to humans? Do you need to be concerned about processing? What does that look like?
No, there's no confirmed risk or supported risk for humans. It's really an ungulate specific disease. Mortality tends to be a little bit higher in white-tailed deer than say like cattle or sheep. Now, a lot of people sort of call EHD blue tongue, and we make a very specific distinction not to refer to it as blue tongue, because there is an actual blue tongue virus. We really haven't seen that in Michigan in recent years, but if it were to sort of show up one year, that could be really devastating to, say, like sheep farmers sheep are much more susceptible to the blue tongue virus. So it's often referred to as blue tongue, but we've been really trying to emphasize and educate to refer to it as EHD. But there's really no concern from a hunter standpoint. Obviously, the standard line is if the animal looks sick, it's probably not worthwhile consuming. But there's really nothing lending itself to humans being infected by eating an EHD positive animal. And in fact, it wouldn't show up at this time of year for like the Liberty hunt or the early antlerless, or maybe even early archery, when the transmission still might be going. But as you get into firearm season, there shouldn't be any more transmission. And a lot of times what you can tell is you can almost look and see by looking at the deer's hooves. And if there's sort of a growth interruption or a ridge on all 4 of their hooves, it's really a good indicator that that deer had EHD and recovered from it. So it tends to sort of shut down all the typical biology that spends all its resources in fighting the disease. And then when the deer recovers, all those normal processes, return, and you see this ridge on the hooves, sort of equidistant from the hairline. So it's just kind of a cool little biology fact to think about as you get later in the season and to look at the deer that you harvest, hooves.
I'm
And
gonna
if you
check
see
their
that
hooves
ridge,
now.
Yeah.
if you see that hooves on their that ridge on their hooves, there's that's really good indicator that deer had EHD earlier in the fall.
Okay.
Well, speaking of hooves,
Yeah. So you do more than deer. I was on Reddit the other day and I saw a guy claiming to be an Interlaken with a trail cam picture of a bull elk. And, I sent it to the other Chad, but I was curious, is it real? Is it an escaped, captive cervid? Did one bull cross 75 and 131 and end up somehow in Interlaken? Like, what do you know about that guy?
Yeah. So we get reports every year of elk that we just call out of range, and by and large, it's almost always a young bull. And what I think happens is it gets to be the breeding season, which right now is what we're dealing with elk. And right before the breeding season starts, they get either bullied out of their area, they get pushed around by guys that are a lot bigger than them, and they go looking for love, and they just start walking. And a lot of times they've trended to sort of go west. So it's not the first set of bulls that we've had in the northwestern part of the state. We've had several bulls in that area before, but that's almost generally what it is. When we first get those reports, one of the first things we do is try to check in with our captive cervid liaison, and he checks in with Department of Agriculture and make sure that there wouldn't be an escapee from like a privately owned herd. But in almost every instance, it's not. It's just a wild bull that's out wandering, looking for love, and has no idea that there's no ladies in that direction whatsoever.
So two follow-up questions from that, and I think I know the answer to the second one at least. Assuming he doesn't get hit by a car or something, will he make it home? The second question, and I guess it's not so much of a question, but we should probably remind Michigan's deer hunters that you can't shoot him over there in Calava and Interlaken.
Yeah, second one, very true. Yeah, it's a good reminder. They are not legal game, even if they are out of quote unquote range. Those elk licenses are very prized, and you just don't get a free pass to shoot one just because they've walked around a little bit. Whether or not they come back or not, they generally tend to find their way back, but they could bounce around quite a bit. We've had them come into parts of southern Michigan as well, so they just kind of bounce around a little bit. We tend to kind of let them alone unless they are doing a lot of damage. We might consider acting if they start getting into some of our disease areas. So especially if they start moving east from where they currently exist, we don't want elk over in our TB range, and potentially bringing that back. Likewise, if they start going down into, where we have the highest densities of chronic wasting disease, Montcalm County, Kent County, I don't know if that's something we want to risk for them walking around, potentially contracting that and then moving back up north. So that's a potential decision point from the department standpoint and sort of weighing those risks and rewards. But we tend to generally let them just kind of wander around, and as long as they aren't hurting anybody, we kind of let them go and hope they find their way back.
So that was gonna be my question, Chad. Like, has the department ever jumped in and relocated an elk back home, or do they, like you said, you leave them alone mainly? But do you know of a time where they've kind of been like, okay, buddy, you either gotta come home or we're gonna have more problems?
Yeah, I can't think of a scenario where we've trapped one and moved it back.
Okay.
So I can't think of a scenario like that. I do remember a few years ago there was a bull that was getting down into Mecosta County and heading towards that Montcalm County area. Really high dairy production down there. There were some concerns starting to be raised about the presence of this elk in that area, especially coming from, we've had TB in our elk before, but what that means, either coming from an area that's had TB, going down towards where we've had chronic wasting disease. And we did have that that bull removed and subsequently tested. But so generally we don't like to do that, and we try to avoid those situations as much as possible, because we try to think in terms of the bigger picture. But if there's deemed enough risk, we would intervene. But like I said, not something we like to do.
Do you know where that elk is right now? Like, how confidently could you guys located it in a 24 or 48 hour period if you needed to? This could be a short answer. I don't know if you guys actually know or not.
Yeah, I would not feel confident at all. Some of our field staff that are a little bit more local probably have a little bit better understanding in terms of where it would be, and could probably narrow it down to probably less than a quarter of a county is my guess at any one time. But again, that could change pretty quickly too. It a lot depends on how frequently people are reporting it, seeing it, and letting our staff know where that animal is.
Yeah. All right. Well, Chad, you're a busy guy. We don't want to take up any more of your time. We really appreciate you being on here. We have one last question for you. This is one that we're going to be asking all of our guests. On average, an annual year, how many squirrels do you think you consume? How many times a year are you going out and squirrel hunting, or buddies bringing you a squirrel? How many a year do you think you're eating?
Lately, the answer would be 0. Early in my life, especially when I was starting hunting, I mean, it was probably closer to like 15 to 20.
Okay, it's a good number.
But yeah. I mean, between me and my dad, and even my grandfather, we would, and my grandmother, she was French, so she had a very specific recipe with squirrel and wine and stuff like that, and we would have 2 or 3 really good meals throughout the fall and winter, just of squirrel. But I don't know, like recently, like we just seem to have gotten away from that, and
you're busy in the fall.
Yeah. It's just sort of been a natural shift in sort of what I choose to pursue personally, and where my greatest interests lie. Now, you start going more towards like pheasants and things like that. My pheasant consumption has gone up quite a bit.
It's a tasty bird.
It's a replacement, right? I'm replacing pheasants for squirrels as I get older here.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you on another time. And yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Chad.
Anytime, fellas. Great talking with you.
So what else do we have going on in the world of MUCC? We've had some OTG events that just happened. We've got some more fundraisers and other things happening here in the near future. What did we do not here too long ago?
I'm going to give a quick shout out to one of our partners really fast. The Michigan Outdoors podcast is proud to partner with Domain Outdoor. Domain hand selects the highest quality seeds and ingredients, so you can be confident when you choose Domain, you're choosing legendary products, performance, and customer support. I personally use Comeback Kid in my food plot, which is a cold season perennial and annual mix. I've had great success with it, and I highly recommend it. MUCC members get an exclusive discount at domainoutdoor.com with promo code MUCC10 for 10% off their order. Again, that is MUCC10 for 10% off your order. With Domain Outdoor, turn your property into a domain. This is your land.
Nice.
Yeah, so we had some on-the-ground events this weekend. On Friday, we had our sharp-tailed grouse habitat enhancement. That was in the Hiawatha National Forest, and they were doing they were putting in grass plugs. They did about 75 acres worth of habitat, and so one of the big things, like I said, with that grass plugging, they turned pretty much an acre field into, I don't know how many grass plugs they put down, but it was a lot. So
it was hundreds.
Yeah, so a lot of good habitat improvement there, and I believe we had about 10 or 15 volunteers for that. So thank you to everyone who came. We also had the dam improvement project at the Blind Sucker Flooding, and that was in Luce County. And that was a little bit of a smaller turnout, but they were able to move a lot of gravel around and just work on habitat enhancement for that as well. So they were able to knock out a couple more acres. And that puts our on the ground totals, I want to say around 3,500 to 4,000 acres. So
just this year.
Yeah. Yep. So we're doing a really great job and really able to improve a lot of habitat. And
we got a new OTG leader coming in starting next week.
New coordinator.
As we're kind of getting to the end of the OTG season. So she will get in, hit the ground running, and get ready for spring events.
Well, and there's still a couple more events on the calendar for this fall. So if you're interested in getting outside and getting hands-on with conservation, MUCC.org, and check out the OTG events and what's in your neck of the woods, or use it as a good excuse to go travel and see a different part of the state and come on out and help us out with our program.
Yeah. And then coming up, we also have our youth pheasant hunt. That'll be October 12th from
13th.
October 13th.
Yep.
Excuse me.
They had to bump it to Sunday.
That's right. That is a new change. From 9 a.m. to 1:30. Do you want to talk a little bit?
Yeah, so this is something we do every year with our hunter safety graduates and our camp attendees. So this year we had over 90 new hunter safety graduates come out of our camp throughout the summer. And so they get really kind of first dibs at this. And then if we don't fill the spots, we open it up to the general public. But all the spots are currently full. There is a wait list. So if somebody does drop out or back out, we will have a wait list that we're operating. But yeah, October 13th at Tails a Wagon Acres. It's in Marion, Michigan. And so this is an opportunity for those brand new hunter safety graduates to get out in the field, have a hunt, have it be somewhere comfortable. Their parents are allowed to come with them and chaperone, be in the field, be part of the whole day. Students will get a gift bag, kind of a little goodie bag of stuff. They'll get their safety brief. They'll be able to do some sporting clays in the morning to get warmed up. And then they go out for a hunt. And so all the dogs are provided. The handlers are there as well. And all the students actually go home with 3 to 4 birds. And that's some fresh protein. They get to experience harvesting their own table fare. And so they get to go out, understand how the dog handler relationship works, do some sporting clays, hopefully bag a few birds. The birds get cleaned for them at the farm. And so they get to go home with just a bag full of breast. And it's a great day. And so we do have it full right now, but there is information. So Shannon Stover is our camp director and educator. So if you do have any information or want to get on the wait list, you can email info@mucc.org. But again, it is full at this time. But a great way to get the heads up on this for next year is to come to camp. So every year we run camp through the whole summer. And so if you want to be able to go out and do one of these hunts, or if you have a young person who's getting into hunting or new to hunting, or just needs their certification, all students have that possibility at camp. And then you get the invite for this annual hunt we do with our students after camp season's over. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Sticking on the pheasant theme, we actually have a fundraiser for the adult crowd coming up October 18th. So as of recording this, we're about a month away. It's at Rooster Ranch in Ubley, Michigan, up in the Thumb. There is lodging available as well right on site. Rooster Ranch has lodging if you want to make that drive over the night before. But we're going to have an awesome day of shooting birds where we're going to wake up, get there nice and early. We're going to have a big country breakfast cooked for us. We'll have check-in and registration. There'll be sporting clays that you can do for warm-ups in the morning. And then we're going to head out for a tower hunt or a European hunt where we'll have everybody in the field. We are selling sponsorships for the different shooting blinds or for any of the lunches or the breakfast. So we do have sponsorships available. The cost is $325 a person, but you're going to get probably 8 birds that day at a minimum. You're going to get your breakfast. You're going to get your clays.
Assuming you can shoot.
Yeah, assuming you can shoot. And then you're also going to get a field hunt after lunch. So we have a gourmet lunch that we're going to have that day after the European hunt. Rooster Ranch has an awesome in-house chef. We're going to have an awesome lunch. We're going to have some raffles and giveaways and prizes. And so you'll be able to win guns. You'll be able to win gear. We're going to have a great day there. And then we're going to go out for a field hunt. All the dogs and the handlers are already provided for us as well. You can bring your dog if you want for the field hunt. You have to let us know ahead of time, though. But you'll have that field hunt to clean the fields up, get some more birds, and then we'll have some delicious libations after everyone's stowed their firearms and we got safety checks and going, all that stuff. So mucc.org/rooster is the website to go sign up. You can sign up a party of guys. You can sign up you and your kid. You can kind of bring whoever, but registration is open. Sponsorships are still available. And mark your calendars for October 18th. And we're going to go home with some delicious pheasant.
Yeah. I think this is one of my favorite events.
Yeah, it's going to be a good day. It's going to be an awesome time. So definitely get signed up as soon as you can.
Do it.
Good stuff.
A big thank you to one of MUCC's conservation partners, Enbridge. The Great Lakes are a vital source of water, life, and play for all of Michigan. That's why we're committed to their safety and environmental protection. With the Great Lakes Tunnel Project, we're taking extra precautions in the straits, making a safe pipeline even safer. At Enbridge, their goal is to be the first choice energy delivery company in North America and beyond for customers, communities, investors, regulators, and policymakers and employees. Learn more about Enbridge's impact in Michigan at enbridge.com/line5tunnel.
And if you're interested in being a conservation partner, please reach out and let us know if you want to have a culture of conservation in your workplace. We're always looking for more and more partners.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening and tuning in. We will see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks after early doe.
Yep.
Some fresh venison.
And some squirrel.
Refill that for, yeah, get some squirrel too. We usually hunt.
And shoot more geese.
That's right.
More geese.
Awesome.
Or send it if you get a video of someone getting attacked by a geese, podcast@mucc.org.
Yes.
I'd love to see it.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, everyone.